Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you, and we educate you. And today, I tell you what, we're going to have an amazing, amazing show. So you definitely want to get out your pens. You want to get out your paper. And like I always say, what you write down, you retain a lot more of that information. So we got a special guest that's going to drop some massive value. So get out your pen, get out your papers, and take notes. And then after you're done, go back and study your notes and watch this episode again, because I guarantee you, when you go back and watch it again, you're going to retain a lot more information. You're going to say, how did I miss that? Dr. Oliver, man, I've been waiting for you. Where you been at, man?
Man, we're trying to get on this amazing show with you, Daniel. It's been a journey. I'm excited to be on here today.
Well, you're a special person in my life. I know the amazing, beautiful soul and human being you are. Do me a favor, Dr. Oliver. Please introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show.
Yes, I'm Dr. Oliver T. Reid, and elated to be here. I'm a writer, entrepreneur, speaker, coach, and I believe in taking your story to the next level. And so I'm excited to be a part of this show and to just share in these next couple of minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's just being humble there. He just kind of said a little preface, and he's actually a lot more than that. He's good looking, handsome. He's he got that smile. If you're watching this on video, he has that GQ smile. But brother, man, I'm actually excited to have you on the show, because me and you, I've known you almost going on a year and a half already, and just really bonded when I spent some time with you in Cherry Hills, New Jersey. And then we just kind of kept in touch. And as God leads us, we'll have a conversation here and there. And the last one we had was pretty deep.
Yes, sir.
So you know what, since we talked about that, and I know we're jokingly laughing, but in all seriousness, so many times, man, we're in business, we're on this journey of becoming who we want to be in business, who we aspire to be, who that desire that God puts in our hearts to be. And then, man, we get hit on the side, we get jumped off the track, we get rear-ended, and then sometimes, oh, you get a little knife in the back, man.
Yes.
What do you have as a word of wisdom for someone out there who is going through maybe their first real business endeavors, that they tasted betrayal and hurt and just some of those things that come with that, brother? Drop us some wisdom right off the bat, man, because I want to go deep in here, because this is something that me and you have personally gone through, and I would love to touch base on this.
Man, great question. I think the biggest thing you can do is outlive it. I believe it was T.D. Jakes who said something powerful. He said, you can't stop the storms in your life, but you can outlive the storm. Which means sometimes we feel like when we've been betrayed, when we've been backstabbed in business, man, I know that all too well, when you feel like you're at your lowest, that we have to do something. And I think, Daniel, fighting, my brother, the urge of having to do something is the number one thing you have to overcome. Because sometimes we feel like we got to get back even, or we got to say something, or we got to retaliate, or we got to recruit. But just being able to just take that breath. In my last season, I had to just step back and just say, you know what? I can't stop the storm. I can't stop this attack. Because when you really get stabbed, really deeply, you can't even articulate or put into words what you're feeling at that moment. But what I did is just lay on my bed, man. I just laid on my bed, laid on my couch, and just made it through the next day. So those who are watching the video right now, if you can just make it to the next day, then it's a brand new day.
Wow, that's that. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that's powerful wisdom. The human nature is to retaliate. Two words came to mind when you said that, opposite of what you said. I said, right, retaliation and revenge. Yes. And that's not the answer many times, that possibly, I would say even 100% of the time, because you're reacting in anger, you're reacting with a destructive mindset, and it's going to cost you more maybe sometimes than I've been guilty of that, man.
Yeah.
So,
One of
so,
the
so
things I've learned is that the energy that you expel trying to just work on something that you had nothing to do with. I was talking to last night on the presentation, and what came to me was that a lot of times we take ownership for certain things in our lives that we had nothing to do with. For example, can I give you an example? When your car breaks down, you take it to a mechanic. The mechanic can fix it, but the mechanic is not crying over the fact that your engine or you didn't service your engine on time, or you had a flat. Their job is to come in and say, I don't take the ownership, but let me come with the solution. And a lot of times we feel like when somebody brings their bad car or bad experience or their trauma into your life, we feel like we got to own it. Well, all you have to do is fix it. And a lot of times how I fixed the last season of my life when I've been betrayed or in business life or et cetera, is just not feeding the wolf, Daniel. I didn't feed it. I
mm,
didn't give it the energy, the time. And it just kind of starved the individual on the other end, because they were kind of like, hold on, I threw my best blow at this dude and he is still waking up every day.
so what I hear you say, and write this down, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody's probing you and poking at you and trying to get under your skin, you have to get thicker skin and learn to ignore that.
Yes, good. Mm-hmm.
And how many of us, ladies and gentlemen, have been in a situation where somebody's poking at us and poking at us, and then it's always the second person that gets caught, right? It's kind of like, what comes to mind right now is like the NFL football game, right? It's like
Yeah,
somebody running down the field, a wide receiver and a defensive back, and it's the defensive back, the one that trips the wide receiver. The wide receiver gets mad and pokes him in the head or hits him on the head, and
yeah.
penalty, right? Penalty, get out of here.
Flag.
And that's kind of what happens here with us is they're poking at us and poking at us. And the next thing you know, we have a choice to either be reactive or to just ignore it altogether. And ladies and gentlemen, think about what's going on in your life right now. Is somebody poking at you?
Wow.
Is a situation poking at you? Has somebody betrayed you and you're wanting to get revenge back, and you have this resentment and anger towards them? And that's not the answer. Because in the long run, you're only going to hurt yourself, right? You're thinking about the short, right? The short satisfaction. But sometimes the wisdom in this, Dr. Oliver, is you got to be patient and just kind of let things unfold.
Yes. One of the things I learned is that, when you are just being that patient person, and really, like I said, going back to that scenario about not taking ownership of the trauma or the situation, because sometimes we do, there's nothing wrong with us self-reflecting, see where we were in the throes of this particular event, but sometimes we had nothing to do with what happened to us, right? And so from that standpoint, going over that person's life, trying to figure out why they did what they did, trying to figure out, did I do something wrong? It prolongs your healing process. It prolongs your time. And I think that the biggest thing that I would share, anybody that's looking at this, you have a right to say, I don't understand. I don't understand how this feels. I don't know what to do. And I think when you're able to do that and take each day and stride, and it's a new day reset for you, allows you to be even better, that you don't get stuck in the throes of what they threw at you. Get off of you, what has been poured
Mm.
on you. Now, I would say that again, get off of you what's been poured on you. My mother taught me a story when I was young. I fell in the mud. And I remember coming in the house and she was like, boy, if you don't get upstairs and change your clothes, right? And I felt rejected to a point, because I was like, I went to go hug her or something. She was like, no, you're not hugging me like that. Go upstairs and change. But the fact of the matter, my mother didn't disown me. She was saying, change out of what you have encountered.
Mm.
Take the clothes off of the last situation. That's not you. The rejection, the betrayal is not you. But if you hold on to it, you begin to be imprinted by what others have put on you. I don't know who that's for. That's a writer down, or that's a tweetable tweet. That is something. Take off the clothes of what people tried to throw on you. Because as long as you walk around in that muddy situation, you stay right there.
Yeah, something that I want to get your perspective on this, because I think the mistake that a lot of people say things because they hear a lot of people say things. Does that make sense, right? People say
Yeah.
things because they hear a lot of people say things. And I think there's an illusion that some coaches have that says, oh yeah, let me clear out all your trauma and let me do this. And the truth is, you can definitely do some trauma work, but what people don't realize is it's proven scientifically that you still have that memory in your mind.
Mm.
You still have that memory here. And even though you've gone through the trauma work, someone can be triggered if something happens that quick.
Yes.
And I think that's the mistake. And what I've seen in my own experience, what I've been through, kind of what we've talked about, was a side of a person that comes out. It's like, where did that come from? So remember this, ladies and gentlemen, when someone shows you who they are, believe it.
Believe.
When someone shows you who they really are, believe it.
Mm.
Because the honeymoon is always nice, right? The honeymoon is always nice. And the things that the thing that most people miss is when you're in the honeymoon stage for the first 90 days, you're here cognitively, right? You're at the forefront, you're aware. And then as you get comfortable with the person, whether it's through business or whether it's through pleasure or friendship or boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever it is, now after 90 days, you start to go to the subconscious mind. And that's where the real person hides out at, right? That's where the
Yes.
thought patterns are at, the paradigms are at. And not only that, this is I want, right? They're instinctive behaviors. I've always said this, right? If you want to know who a person is, put them under pressure and give them a good stress test.
Yes.
And you see, right? I always say, right? What comes out of you when you're squeezed? What's your perspective on that, my brother?
Yeah. I love that analogy when you squeeze. I love that analogy because oftentimes, you know, I find out a lot about relationships when I tell people a 2-letter word, and that 2-letter word is no. If you really want to see people, and I advise this in even relationship counseling, I'll talk to people who are dating, from even in business relationships. What happens when I tell you no reveals the character of an individual. I cannot make it. Then you see who a person really. I cannot buy into the coaching program. I cannot do it. And how they handle you afterwards says a lot about the character. Like, for example, when somebody tells you no, your yes should get better. Somebody write that down. When somebody tells you no, your yes should get better. Oh, well, okay, no, well, you know what? I'll be back in a couple weeks, a couple months. Do you need that? Then you really start to see if an individual really has my best interest or your best interest in mind. And I think a lot of times under pressure, we tend to show who we really are. It's like that person getting drunk at the cookout and he starts telling you how he really feels about the family. And then he comes back after and says, well, I don't really mean that.
Dr. Oliver can't cook. He had both can barbecue. Oh, really? That's how you feel about my barbecue. But it goes back to what we're talking about, right? When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If you don't mind, I want to go even deeper than that. So when this is going on, we'll just say that someone is putting on this dirty clothes on you. You're taking it off. I've learned to change my story on this. Because I just from me being me, losing my mom as a kid, right? I was 10 years old, having some deaths in the family. I actually take rejection personal. And now as I'm getting older and wiser and younger inside, right? I'm realizing that sometimes rejection is God's protection.
Mm.
And even though it doesn't feel good in the moment, right? Because maybe it looks like this. Maybe we're like, man, Dr. Oliver's gonna go and have a get together and watch the football game. And well, I see it on Facebook, but he didn't text me. And man,
Yeah.
we can take that rejection deep. Talk to us about that, because I really feel that sometimes when maybe you're not invited or maybe you're left out, even purposely, God sees things you don't see, and rejection is God's protection.
Yeah. I love that. The whole part of that rejection is God protection. I had to learn through years. I was like that. I always felt like because of abandonment issues from my father, I wanted to be accepted by men. I wanted to to be accepted with the in crowd. And when I didn't see that text, or I see somebody posting on vacation and I didn't get invited to whatever it was, I would feel that same way. And I think the biggest thing that I had to learn to do is start to think with an understanding of being able to give grace. I lead with grace in the thought process, not just in the doing, but in the thinking. So, or maybe, for example, who was somebody that, in our circle, and I see somebody that I didn't get invited to, I would think, well, maybe they got so busy, maybe they got mixed up that they didn't, get it. I would lead with that thought. And then I would say, was it even meant for me to even be there? And then I had to really look and say, sometimes in my life, I had to realize I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. And, when you really start looking at your schedule and start like self-reflection and start saying, could I have really flew out to Dallas to be at the Cowboys game? Probably not. Right. And maybe that person just did with the local. And then I've also felt that a lot of times I'll just ask the person, hey, man, I really, in all honesty, I would love to have been a part of that. And they might be like, man, you know what? I didn't even think of you, Oliver, really honestly. And then I let it go because I actually said something. Where back in the day, I would hold that inside. And when they text me or call me, I'm not available. I was like, almost like, don't even call me. I'm not going to be there. But now being able to share that feeling in the moment, communication, being able to say, hey, I would have loved to be there, man. What happened? And giving them the opportunity, but giving them the opportunity with an open mind, not, oh, he's going to probably say he forgot, not getting into that mode, really coming in and saying, what happened? And really thinking of that person, or giving that person grace that that person had my best interest and maybe just really forgot. And then going back and running the gut check, could I have even made it anyway?
So let me ask you this. I want you to drop some deeper wisdom here, because I think this is a topic that a lot of people need to hear, especially nowadays, because I truly believe over 80% of us, maybe even 90% of us, live shallow. We live on the surface level. We don't really go deeper. And what I mean by that is we're easily offended. We're easily get upset, and we don't communicate. And what I mean by that is we won't pick up the phone and call somebody. We'll text them.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of, I call it the coward's way out, right? You have a coward's way out because whether it's a conversation that needs to be had or not, the thing is you have to learn how to communicate through voice, not just through text, because people will text you all day, but you call them and they don't pick up their phone. It's like, well, if you got something to say or we got to talk about something, like, let's be grown-ups. The word is mature.
Yes.
And they wonder why their businesses don't grow. They wonder why their lives are stuck in a shambles and going in circles. Because, right, God looks at, are you maturing? Anybody can send a text message in, right? But let's talk about it. What's your perspective on that?
I love that because, a lot of times people are texting social media, being disattached, and really, really, if I could show this in vulnerability, and transparency, people find that easy way to text. They find that because then they don't have to confront. And what gets me, one of my pet peeves is this: a lot of people will say, "Hey, they'll text you, give me a call." And I'm like, you're texting me to give you a call, just call me, right? By the time I respond to the text, right, you could have called, maybe I couldn't have answered them, but then you've initiated the call. And then I would have been like, I have to call back because the person has called me. So it's been that type of thing where I'm like, man, just give me a call. But I think what it is that we live in such a area or a time of sensationalism where people are taught to feel and don't think. So I can just, I'm not thinking how the person may feel on the other side. I just need to get this done. And it has damaged, communications. A lot of times we don't even really sit down and never have a chance to really even talk about the issue. It's easy to end or start or begin a relationship with just a text. I don't even have to know you. I can go on your social media page. I can inbox you. I could, say what I want to say to you. I could be a cyber bully, and just really go on your page. We'll never sit down and have a conversation with you. But I think it's from that standpoint of it's easy. We live in a world of easy. It is easy to not be confrontational. It's easy to not sit down in a room and look eye to eye with the person and say, hey, this is how I really felt about something. So I just think it's really one of those things where people are very, very passive. And I remember, you know, it was something that you shared, and I want to share this to really be. I've always kept this to be transparent with the audience. You taught me something. I was in a meeting with you, and it was a very powerful moment. I think we were on a virtual coffee the first time we met. And I think somebody was calling. I was having so much stuff going on at that time, and I was looking down at my phone. And you said something very, very powerful that I want to share with somebody. And I always kept this very powerful. You said, "Hey, man, I can reschedule this if you don't have time." At first, I was like taken back, like, "What do you mean?" And then I realized I called myself. Oh, we shared. I didn't take that as, you know, he's coming at me. He's, you know, trying to be this person. I took it as a learning lesson. And I was like, because I'm not engaged, even though I had an opportunity, I had an excuse as a man, hearing that from you. What I love about you told me directly that you didn't get off the call and say, text me, well, you know what, next time you said it to me, and I carry that with me a lot of times in my life. So I think that that's very, very important. It was a teachable lesson, and I thank God for you, but it goes back to that same point. You know, we're actually engaging in conversation. We're actually doing something, and life just comes at you so fast that you're not even thinking. So I think a lot of people do it just because they're just routine to text, routine to email, routine to just send a letter or whatever it may be, instead of just talking it out and having that personal interaction. So I thank you for that bullet point.
I
I
remember you
feel
told me that.
that.
And just to kind of go deeper on that, ladies and gentlemen, you know, when somebody respects you or truly loves you, they're going to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's going to hurt.
yeah,
And sometimes you're not going to like it. But that's what Dr. Oliver's saying right now. Sometimes you got to refrain from reacting to the situation and ask yourself, is there some truth to what Dr. Oliver is saying? Is there some truth to who XYZ is saying? Because maybe they're telling you for their own good, but you don't want to see it.
yeah.
But the truth is that maybe it's something that you have to work on. Maybe that's the one thing that's keeping your business from going to the next level. See,
Mm,
the thing is, this is the world is built on principles and laws, and people don't realize that.
yes.
Just the same way me and you ain't floating right now, and you're halfway across the country. I'm in Texas. We're not
Yep.
floating, and we're not even in the same city or state. But the law of gravity is a law for the whole world, and that
Yeah.
applies to everybody.
Hmm.
And people miss that part because they think that, oh, I can take a shortcut or I can do this, or no, you can't skip steps. You can't take shortcuts because
Right.
shortcuts equal short paychecks, and you can't rush the process because if you rush the process, it's like it's never going to be healed right away. It's never gonna mature. So since we're talking about this, let me ask you this, because when do you know? We'll just say that you had a scenario like we're talking about. You know, somebody left you out, and maybe, like you said, gently, you said, hey, it would have been nice to be there. Oh, yeah, next time, dog. Next time. Okay, great. And then next time happens again. And oh, well, you forgot about me twice. Because the
Hmm.
signs are there, right? The signs are there. When this is one of the things I'm working on still, right? Because sometimes I want to see the good in everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes the good that I need to do is just let them go. When do you know for yourself that it's okay to outgrow somebody and just it's time to move on? And
Hmm.
I think that that's one thing that I really, because I want to be that Christian, I want to be that person that loves but sometimes loving is just letting go and letting them be. What's your perspective on that, brother?
Yeah. I've been challenged in that area too. And I think one of the things I've learned is that when it gets to the point where I had to re-examine myself and realize that I was shrinking. And what I mean by shrinking is that I wasn't being me. I was like that, you know, feeling like that person on that crowded elevator where I'm like fighting for space in somebody's life. That's when I had to say, okay, I'm shrinking. I'm actually feeling some type of way. This is being detrimental to my health, my way of thinking, my way of acting and behaving. And now I'm acting out of character because a person has shown me their consistency. Let me say it again. I'm acting out of character now because the next person has shown me their consistency, who they are, and I'm still trying to bust in that elevator of their life to be there. Another thing I had to realize is that maybe I'm holding up the progress of that person, really not making it about myself anymore. Maybe I am holding up the process of this person. Maybe they don't know the value of who I am, and maybe I need to move so that they can learn a lesson.
Ooh, boom, baby. Say that again. Say that part again. That's the, I love that.
So sometimes I may need to move so that they can see the value of the loss. Because if I'm there buffering them, I'm shrinking, I'm always accepting it, right? Then they're not growing in development. They don't miss you. Remember the song says, you don't miss a good thing till it's gone, right? And sometimes they can't progress in the next level or dimension of their life because they're depending on this crutch. But I'm being wore out. I'm being washed out. I'm being angry. I'm being all these different things. So at the betterment of them staying where they are. But if I move,
that's
maybe
fire right there.
somebody else can come into their life, or they can say, you know what, dang, I miss Daniel. You know, he has really been there, consistent. What's happening? I didn't value their relationship. And I think
I like what you said, though. I like what you said. They didn't see the value in you. Ladies and gentlemen, are you hanging around a group? Are you hanging around a person that maybe you really, like, you're trying your best to make the friendship work or just the business relationship work? And maybe, in all honesty, like Dr. Oliver said, they're not seeing the value in you.
Yeah.
But you still keep coming around. You still keep doing that. And then that can get tiring. You know what comes to mind is why you said that I was powerful, right? They're not seeing the value in you. And sometimes it's time to let it go, because you want to go. This is the key, ladies and gentlemen. You want to go where you're appreciated, not tolerated. Let me say it again. You want to go where you're appreciated, not tolerated. And it's hard sometimes, though, right? I mean, I'm being honest, right? Because this is something that I've continued to work on, and it definitely gets easier. My skin's been getting tougher, but God says, right? So many times we want to go to the next level in our careers and in business, but we haven't even matured to where we need to go to get there. And sometimes God will throw a rock or a stone our way, adversity, prepare us. And instead of seeing and embracing the lesson that we're going through, all we do is complain and we blame the devil, which is right. I'm not saying that there's no devil. I mean, we both know that there's definitely evil forces, but we give the devil more credit than we do God. Maybe it's the word Jeremiah 17:10 clearly states this: I, the Lord, search the heart. I test the mind to give everyone according to your doing.
Yes.
God's maybe testing your mind and searching your heart to see, okay, if things don't go your way, are you still going to love me? Are you still going to praise me? Are you going to do the right thing? And I'll tell you what, sometimes I wouldn't. I would be pissed. But as I've matured, I've learned to be like, okay, God, you fight this battle for me. I'm just going to let go and trust. And when have you experienced that you had a struggle with Oliver taking it into his own hands or letting God do it? Because I know, man, I've had some ringers this year, brother. Let me tell you.
Yes. This year has been the year of the ringer. You know, we off stage, offline, we've talked about this.
I'm still hanging on the over here, and it's Spanish and the Mexican language we call it the lasso, right? Go hang the clothes outside in the lasso, the wire.
Right. This is a little thin rope.
I'm still hanging outside, so it's like
I love it. And, you know, so I've been in a place where now, it took me a while. It is still things that I see, especially as men. I'll speak to that individual, everybody, but as men, as you invest and you bring people close and you experience that deep level of hurt and rejection, it takes a while. But what I've learned to do is something that a mentor said when I was going through this, and I had to learn. Sometimes we have to pay a penalty tax because God has been telling us to do stuff, leave it alone, drop it, quit shrinking. That a lot of times we have to learn from, not a loss, but a wealthy or healthy lesson. We had to learn because it costs you something not to touch that stove again, right? You know, you touch it one time, your fingers touching, you're like, but then you get so comfortable, you put your whole hand down, and now you feel the burning sensation, and now you would never. So God sometimes have to allow you to go through stuff so you realize I'm never going to go through that particular thing again, right? I may go through something else, but I'm never going to go into a situation like this again, right? And so I think the really powerful part is the penalty tax. Now, God helps us to pay a small, even though we think it's great, a small rejection, a small scenario in his eyes, because he's saving us from the bigger picture, right? You may lose one friend now, but you don't want to lose that $10 million investment later, right? And so from that standpoint, learning from that lesson and celebrating, and really from that particular place to say, hey, I am still going to go forward. I am still going to forgive that person for me. I am going to show up even better in my business, in my life. And I think the biggest thing that we have to overcome is that inner me. I've been saying it for years, the INNER, me, like dealing with the inner me so that we don't get placed to the inner me. Because if you don't control yourself in actions, my biggest thing in this season was the ability to say, I'm not going to retaliate when I could, right? And I could have did a whole lot of things. TD Jakes said something was powerful, and I watched it on one of his shows. And I'll say this to any business pioneers, anybody that's clicking, moving, and shaking, Daniel. He said something that really resonated with me. He says that when you're a king or a queen, you cannot be petty. He said, because what I mean by petty, not that you don't feel or not that you don't hurt, but if we retaliate, nations go to war. So say if you're in this big business, you're overseeing this, you got a lot of followers, people are looking up to you, and you start to have this Facebook battle, this social media battle, you'll lose the war because people are looking like, okay, what's going on with this dude? I don't really want to work with Oliver because he's being petty. He's going through this particular thing out in open, even though I have a right. One of the things I learned is that you could be right standing in the wrong. You could be right, but standing in the wrong. And so from that, going back to what you said earlier about the two football players and the second one gets caught, right? It's the same situation. And so from that situation, I've actually been able to say, hold on, I'm building this kingdom for the Lord. God is building this thing in me, in my business, in my life. What can I lose by acting out of character, right? Is that my character? Is it really about winning? Do I really need to win now?
You know what comes to mind is an old car dog. We used to have this saying in the car business is I'm dating myself now. Almost a quarter century ago. I remember, it's almost 25 years ago. I never forget this. My manager told me this one time was, Daniel, sometimes you gotta lose the battle to win the war.
Whew.
Sometimes you have to purposely lose the battle to win the war.
Yes.
And with what you're saying, that's what comes to mind. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, I'm going to give my brother, Dr. Oliver, some time to speak into your life. I want you to speak into those people right now that just take a minute or two and speak from your heart. And maybe they're thinking about retaliating or they've been hurt. They're on their tail, and give them a word of inspiration to get themselves back up and let them know that retaliation is not the answer. Look into the mic, brother, and let's pour out your heart to these people, please.
Yes. Thank you, Daniel. One of the things that the Lord I want to share with you is that you're not what you touched or what has touched you, but you are imprinted by what you hold on to. Let me say it again. You're not what you touched, what people have taken from you, violated you, the last thing that you touched, even if you've been in the wrong, but you are imprinted by what you hold on to. If you take a quarter, you hold, and even when you release that quarter, you'll see that little ridge in the palm of your hand because you've held on to it too long. Some of you, under the sound of my voice, you held on to the business partner that's killing your business. You've been holding on to a relationship that's toxic. You've been actually talking yourself into a level of mediocrity because you are in a certain group or a certain circle that you just have to now let it go. You can't hold on and let go at the same time. You can't open a door and close it at the same time. You can't walk through and reverse at the same time. You have to choose which one you're going to serve. I will also say, quit feeding the wolves in your life. Some of those wolves are not even people, it's memories. So God's blessing you with a new relationship, but you're still so busy guarding yourself from the wolf that you can't get the next connection and take you to the next dimension. Don't let what happened yesterday bring it into your today and settle, right? This is an opportunity for you to go forward. Look at this, be quick to forgive. Be quick to forgive, let go, and move on. Now, one of the things I want to share with you too is if you heard words and actions and behaviors, I want you to do this real quick. I want you to turn your pain into pages, not just a book. What I'm saying is, I want you to take a sheet of paper out. What I'm saying is draw a line, put pain, and on that pain moment, put down everything. You know, some of you can't even write a sentence now. You might have to start with the first letter because it's that painful. But today, I want you to start with that first letter. Once you put a word there, I want you to also, before you go to the next word, on the other side of the column, put a word that counteracts that word. So if your word was broke, because you've been broken, you have to be on the other side and say, I am whole, because you have to put a word to replace a word. See, a lot of times, Daniel, in life, I've noticed that people will take words in and never put a replacement word there. They'll take the rejection of the business. They'll take the word failure. They'll take the word mistake. They'll take the word betrayal. But what about putting blessing, that God is putting a blessing in your life? He's bringing you a good friend because you lost a best friend. That's going to be an even better friend. You lost the deal in the transaction. It's going to even be a better transaction. But see, you have to write it out. Even God himself started with a word. Before he started to create, he put a word. He said, let us come and let's make man. And then he starts to form man. So what I want you to do is every place you've been broken, take your time. Write out on a sheet of paper these words that you heard, these things that has happened to you, these experiences, and then talk about, paint on the canvas of your life and declare yourself a brighter day, a better future, a new day, a new morning. Do that and start that every day. And then not only that, you're not going to feel different when you write it, right? I'll say this last part. You're not going to feel different once you write it, because it's going to take the process. We've been told in life that the practice makes perfect, but I beg to differ. To me, the process makes perfect. As you go through the process, there's going to be some days you want to tear that piece of paper up. There's going to be some days that you're going to be like, yo, I'm going at it. I'm ready to show my hands, like meet me on the street. Like it can go down a day, but you have to remind yourself of the word that counteracts that word. So the process of you doing it daily, continue to leave that before you, makes perfect. It actually makes the perfection in your life go stronger because you're constantly going back to the greater word. Last thing I want to tell you, the power of a yes will always outweigh a no. If I tell you no so many years and I come with one yes on the other side, I counteract all the years you've been told no by the power of your yes. Put a yes there and let's move forward.
Boom, baby, let's go. One touch of God's favor is worth more than a lifetime of labor.
Wow.
One touch. That's what he's saying. You can get up 1,000 no's. It's okay. Think about Thomas Edison, how many times he felt over 1,000. Think about Walt Disney, who had over 300 no's because they thought, who's gonna go see the stupid little mouse? Well, he went to 308 and look, Walt Disney owns everything now, pretty much. But it just shows the power of persistence and the power of just one yes, of what it can do. Let me ask you this as we're coming towards the end of what we're, I don't even want to stop this episode. We're gonna have to probably do a part 2, man.
Let's go.
We went deep on this, but you know, when someone is holding on and not letting go, like you're saying, and God's waiting on them, because right, that next connection to take them to that higher dimension. What's something that you've personally experienced? Because right, sometimes as believers we say, I want a sign, or I want to give me a sign, God, right? What's personally something, a sign that you've seen that you said, you know, I've been kidding with myself. It's really time to let go. What's something that somebody can look for, my brother?
Yeah, one of the things that started to happen in my season of pre-letting go, I call it that, was that I felt like I was dying inside. You know, and some of you watching this, you've given everything. You compromised. You've been there. It's been one-sided for so long, and you just had to look in. I started looking at myself in the mirror and realized that I'm losing me. Building you, I am losing me. Wow. Then I had to go back and say, God, did you really call me to this relationship, or was I enticed by the benefits? Now, that's a hard question. Was I enticed by what this person was giving me, or what the falsehood of what I thought this person was giving me, or the relationship was giving me? have I put it before you in my priorities? And when I started to look back, and I looked back, I said, man, I've lost myself. I was losing myself. I was putting my family after this particular situation. I was putting so much different things before it. And I said, you know what? Yeah. And then I started to feel like this. I got to the point and realized, was it an idea or was it a reality? Let me stop right there.
It's a reality.
It was a reality. The reality was this thing that wasn't happening, but the idea of what I thought this person, place, thing was not what it really was. And I think when you really start to realize, okay, you said it earlier, like this person came in like this particular situation. This deal was too good to be true. And guess what? Let's be honest. We always feel in our spirit, in our heart, our intuition. The old people would say in our knowers, like we know, but we're still just quieted down. We're like still going along with it. But we hear the alarm going off. We hear like so many different things. And I would say this, quit ignoring the first sign. My biggest thing, Daniel, was I ignored the first sign. The first sign of when the person shows you who they are, we tend to just, but then we really have to start saying, listen, let me not ignore this first sign. And so I would say that that's when I really started to say, hey, it was really time to let go. When I really started to say, let me do this for me. Let me, because we call it nowadays, people say it's selfish, but no, I have to really look at myself and give time to give myself a break, give myself what myself needs.
Well, you know what, when you said that, right? People call you selfish. You know, when you know, sometimes the people that say you're selfish are probably the most selfish themselves.
Right.
They said again, the people they call you selfish, Dr. Ira, you're selfish. Well, you know, the person saying that is like, Daniel, you're probably selfish yourself. So, ladies and gentlemen, open up your mind to a higher level of thinking, a higher dimension of seeing things. Because if someone's calling you selfish or doing things, a lot of times it's what they see in themselves that they don't like.
Yes. That's good.
What is the best business advice that you've gotten, my brother? One nugget. Give us a nugget for business wisdom.
Business wisdom is don't mistake skill. Don't mistake skill. This is going to be powerful. Don't mistake skill for being successful. Because you could be skillful and not be successful. Standing beside a millionaire. You can be skillful, for example, to get in the room with all these millionaires and sit beside them. But you cannot sustain the wealth. I know so many people that know millionaires and hang out with millionaires, and they're broke. I know so many people that went on Oprah Winfrey. They're broke. I know people that have been a part of conferences and business experience and environment. Being skillful to get there, being savvy, because we always think that be savvy, but that doesn't mean you're successful. Successful, maintaining the ability to succeed is not measured in financial capacity as it is with character sustainability.
It's like that saying, right? If you're going to have a 7-figure business, you best be a 7-figure man. If you're going to have an 8-figure business, best be a 8-figure man. And if not, you're going to lose it. If you're going to be a 10, right? If you're going to be a 10-figure business, you better be a 10-figure woman. If not, you self-implode.
Yeah. This was something that came to me all the time, and it's always been in my mind. I would tell people all the time, because your business is blowing up doesn't mean that it's successful. Because if you hit somebody over the head or over the knee and they get a hematoma, medical term, swelling or abrasion, doesn't mean their knees get bigger. There's infection. And so sometimes the crowd going with the herd, you know, seeing people who are out here, you know, doing great things, doesn't mean that they're successful. Or what do they have to do to compromise that success? So being able to, I like what you said, being that 7-figure man when you're making the 7 figures, the 8 figures, the 10 figures, is so important.
Yeah, because right, if you're gonna have $1 million, you best become a millionaire. If not, if you don't have that mindset, you're gonna lose $1 million. And people don't see that. People don't see that. You know, I've really enjoyed our conversation on our episode. And the beautiful thing about our conversation is Dr. Oliver is actually going to pour into, I think this is an episode definitely for everyone, but I think men need to hear this more. And what do you got going on here September 23rd that goes along with the conversations we just had right now? Because this was a deep conversation. We're gonna probably have to do a part 2, man, because I'm feeling this one. But what's going on here September, brother? Do you want to share it with the audience?
Yes, September 29th, 29th to the 30th in Atlanta. And I'm so blessed to have you, brother, that's going to be there, like speaking and rocking the stage. I mean, I couldn't think of another man that's going to bring what you bring to this conference. We're doing a He-Man conference. It's 2 Power Pack days with faith-based business. We're bringing entrepreneurs from across the globe, pastors, preachers, actors, fitness instructors, to come together behind closed doors, just men, to deal with real issues. So our theme is mud, which means men under divine dominion, getting back to the place of our calling, getting back to the place of who we are. And I like that mud, like I use the analogy today, like we started from the bottom, right? If we look at the creation story, man was created from the dirt. And so we're really taking this opportunity to tell any man, wherever they are, that there's no excuse for what you've been through in your life, what you've done, to not have dominion, right?
So how
And
do we
so
get the tickets to this amazing He-Man conference, brother?
for
Mud,
the
men under divine dominion. It sounds
that
like
is gonna be crazy.
hey,
I'm already in the gym.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna say I ain't gonna go speak Dr. Oliver unless you got 30s in there. If I can pump up before I go on stage, I gotta be like, I gotta look like He-Man.
I'm telling you, I'm actually working out really now with my business trainer. But you can go to hemensconference.com, hemensconference.com. We also on Eventbrite. We also run the BOGO sale now. So if you buy 1 ticket, 2 men can come for 2 days. We really just want to fill the room. We're looking for 300 men to pack it out.
So send me that info and I'll get my my assistant to put that on the website and all the show notes, all that. We'll get that taken care of. Last but not least, what is your favorite scripture or verse or quote that you rely on time of adversity? Your favorite scripture or quote that you rely on in times of adversity?
I think my favorite scripture, I know what my favorite scripture is Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. I like that first part because we want to put it on everybody else. We want to read the Bible in third person, see all these great matriarchs, patriarchs. But the Spirit of the Lord is upon you. He has a call for your life. And I have to remind myself the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. So I have a job to do. I have an anointing to progress in. I have a call. So that's my favorite quote or favorite scripture. My favorite quote is, "You are not late." I came up with that quote myself. God gave me, "You're not late, so never rush your life." So don't think you're late. Don't think it's over for you. There's always still time.
You know, what a powerful episode, brother. And just, ladies and gentlemen, think about what we talked about. Some big takeaways from me are don't retaliate. There's no need to retaliate at all. It's okay. And another thing is it's okay to outgrow people. Listen to the signs, listen to the warning signs, listen to what's going on around you. When you're not feeling fulfilled, like Dr. Oliver said, that could be a sign it's time you've either outgrown them or they need to go somewhere else and learn some lessons from somebody else. So go back, watch this episode again, take it to heart. Dr. Oliver, man, thank you for being with us here today. This is fire. I'm excited. I'm going to go back and listen to this one a couple of times myself.
Me too.
And we'll get all the information, ladies and gentlemen, for the He-Man conference. And last but not least, if somebody wants to connect with you, how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to connect with Dr. Oliver?
Yes, everywhere fully branded at Dr. Oliver T. Reid. You can actually, social media, Facebook, Dr. Oliver T. Reid, you can definitely do that. And you can also go to www.drolivertreid.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Thank you so much, Dr. Oliver, for being with us. And coming up, don't forget San Antonio, Texas, September 8th and 9th, right behind me here, the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy, where we want to see you on stage, where we're going to give you the tangibles, professional speaker reel, optics on stage, red carpet, video testimonials from some famous elite speakers. We're bringing in Jim Cathcart, the former president of the National Speakers Association. This gentleman's going to come and pour fire into us. If you want to learn from the best, he's made millions upon millions being a keynote speaker. And I'm honored to have him here, Dr. Oliver, September 8th and 9th in San Antonio, Texas. Call me at 210-663-5954. We want to see you on stage here at Sticker Shock alongside some great elite. I guarantee you, It's more than a speaking academy. Sticker Shock's an experience. We'll see you next week here, ladies and gentlemen, on another episode, another amazing guest on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.